Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bartlett Jonathan. In our top stories, the president of Cameroon's National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms, Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda, paints a bleak picture of the socio-political and security crisis hitting the northwest and the southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Speaking to the press in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, earlier today, Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda called on the president of the Republic, or better still the government, to investigate and establish the culprits of those involved in the crimes that have been committed in the two Anglophone regions of the country, and also to open discussions in order to find a way out of the crisis. And of course, we'll be talking about the celebration of the 53rd National Youth Day, the 53rd Youth Day in the Republic of Cameroon, notably in the Anglophone parts of the country. And the celebration, of course, took place in tight security and in a tense atmosphere as a result of the deepening Anglophone crisis. Stay with us. The president of Cameroon's National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms, Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda, has made a very bleak and disturbing presentation of the ongoing socio-political and security crisis rocking the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the northwest and the southwest regions, for close to 3 years today, presenting the ongoing killings and, of course, abductions and destruction of properties, villages set ablaze, institutions equally set ablaze, the last one being the Kumba District Hospital that was set ablaze, leading to the death of at least 4 persons according to official figures, and enormous material damage recorded. Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda was speaking to the press in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, earlier today. Here's an extract of what he said.
With a devastating war since late last year, characterized by continuing frequent losses of lives, the lives of defense and security forces, the lives of members of diverse armed groups, the lives of innocent civilians caught in between, the lives of public officials and church leaders, also characterized by the loss of property, homes, villages, schools, hospitals and health centers, as well as markets and businesses which have been closed down. Public officials and church leaders are in constant harassment, and some of them have lost their lives. Refugees in their great numbers can be counted in neighboring countries, and internally displaced persons are in their thousands throughout the national territory. Citizens are fleeing away into hiding places and taking risks, risking their lives as they go into forests and go without food for long periods. They live in perpetual fear. They live in insecurity. You have difficulties in ascertaining responsibilities. Who is perpetrating the criminal acts? There are difficulties in ascertaining the perpetrators of the act. Because whether you are taking the case of the burning of Sacred Heart College in Baminda, or you are taking the case of the kidnapping of hundreds of students at PSS in Queen, or you are taking this case of the burning of the hospital in Kumba, you cannot with certainty say who is the criminal We know these are criminal acts, but why are we in the inability to capture some of the criminals alive and then question them and punish them in accordance with the law? The fact that we are not able to catch some of these criminals is playing a lot against us, because it means we are not serious. If we were serious, schools and hospitals and markets will not be damaged the way they have been done without us showing real criminals. We want to see them show real criminals, whether they are of the security and defense forces. Those who are engaged in this war should be able to capture some of them without killing them, so that we catch them red-handed. We catch them red-handed and we can then shame. But now we think that these various armed groups are benefiting from the ongoing war, and they are creating a lot of harm to innocent citizens.
And though the government has been accusing separatist fighters of the crimes being committed or the destruction and the killings going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, Dr. Chimuta Divine Banda has urged the Biya government to open investigations in order to clearly establish those who are involved in the acts, the violent acts that have been committed in the two regions, and of course to bring them to book. And he also called for a ceasefire in order to create an enabling environment to find a way out of the deepening crisis. Take a listen.
Frequent condemnations, and we have called for investigation, and attempts at investigation have not been fruitful. When we've been calling in many of the press statements that we've issued, we've called for investigation, and I'm waiting to see any reports which show that the investigations led to the capture of the people who are doing it. So why are we in a situation like this? Our humanity is put in question. Are we really human beings? A country that was very hospitable, a country that received refugees from all over, and many people talk about the legendary hospitality. How is it that we have become so inhuman? And how is it that we have become so incompetent of laying hands on the people who are perpetrating the atrocities? We need to see the professionalism of our defense and security forces, not in killing those that they suspect, but in arresting them so that we can question them, why are you playing this dirty game against Cameroonians? We will gain a lot if we can arrest the perpetrators. But if we keep killing and it's so difficult to even come out with statistics, it's so difficult to investigate, then our humanity is being questioned, our ability to govern ourselves is being questioned. We've requested the head of state to declare a ceasefire. A ceasefire, that means nobody should shoot. There should be a ceasefire to facilitate the DDR committee. Without the ceasefire, the DDR committee will be difficult for the DDR committee to do its work. We're talking about demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration. But you will do that better when there is a ceasefire, when people are sure that there will be no gunshots again. Because when you are asking those who have become recalcitrant and they've taken arms, you are asking them to lay down their arms, and you are standing with guns. They fear that when they lay down the arms, you kill. So the best thing for us to do That's what we've requested the head of state to do, is to call for a ceasefire which will facilitate the work of this committee that he has set in place. And then it will also ensure that we come back to peace, that we undertake reconciliation among ourselves, and then it will be meaningful to then think about reconstruction. It will be difficult to think about peace, reconciliation, and reconstruction in the midst of a war. There is a continuing war which is going on in our country. Nearly every day, lives are being lost, property is being destroyed.
And the situation has continued deepening on the ground. The convoy of the governor of the southwest region of the country, Benau Kaliabilai, was attacked today in 3 localities on the highway linking the southwest regional chieftain Boya and Kumba in the Meme division. The convoy of the governor was attacked in Muyuka, in the Balangi, and of course in Mabunji. He was on his way to Kumba to take stock of the situation at the Kumba District Hospital. The hospital set ablaze on the eve of the 11th of February 2019, and he visited that health amenity today, and he was there with his collaborators to evaluate the damage recorded in that health amenity in the chief town of the Meme division, that is Kumba. And of course, he had a meeting with officials of that health amenity in order to take stock of the situation in that amenity, and of course to take down the destruction, the machineries or things that were destroyed in that health amenity during that fire incident. And I recall that his convoy was attacked in the localities of Muyuka, Balangi, and Mabunji as he was heading to the Kumba District Hospital earlier today. We shall be coming back to this in greater details in a subsequent news editions. And Governor Benau Kalabila has once more called on those in the bushes, notably referring to pro-independence fighters, to drop their guns and come out of the bushes as requested by the President of the Republic in his inaugural speech to the nation, and as he has always been calling on them to drop their guns and come out of the bushes. And Governor Benau Kalebilai has once more urged them to do so in a bid to facilitate the way out of the crisis. He was speaking to media men in the southwest regional chieftain Boya shortly after the celebration of the 53rd edition of the national, the 53rd edition of the Youth Day at Bongo Square, and the celebration took place in a tense atmosphere, in a very timid atmosphere as a result of the crisis. Take a listen to Governor Benau Kalebilai.
Join my voice. Thank you, Mr. Levin.
Hello. The youth came safely to celebrate the Youth Day with the rest of the youth of the entire nation. I have congratulated them. I must congratulate them. The take-home message is that they should continue. What they have done today, they should continue. They should tell their brothers to join them, to come back to normal life. Those who are in the bushes, they should drop their arm and come back. They should send message worldwide that Cameroon, the head of state and his entire government need all the youth to join hands for the building of this nation. The head of state mentioned it in his speech yesterday night. He wants all his children around him, wants all his children to be part of the building because they are the Cameroon of tomorrow. To be the Cameroon of tomorrow, they must be there when the nation is prepared the tomorrow, so that they should not be a stranger when they take over, when they have to assume their responsibilities.
Governor Benau Kaliabila is speaking there shortly after the celebration of the 53rd edition of the Youth Day in the Southwest Regional Chieftain Boya. And before we go over to neighboring Kondo Titi, where the celebration was equally timid, we should indicate that the Minister of Communication of the Republic of Cameroon, Emmanuel Sadi, has condemned the burning down of the Kumba District Hospital, qualifying it as barbaric and accusing the separatist fighters to have set that health amenity ablaze, and while extending the condolences of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, to those affected, notably the patients, he equally indicated that at least that 4 persons were burnt to ashes in that fire incident, and he attributed the fire incident to the separatist fighters, who are also accusing the Cameroonian armed forces to have committed that arson attack on the Kumba District Hospital. Now to neighboring Kondo Titi, where the celebration of the Youth Day was marked by the ongoing socio-political and security crisis in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country. Derek Jato has more.
11 February 2019 in the Kondo Titi subdivision. Some participants here say they kept their lives on the line to respect the tradition of the day. Though the number was timid as compared to the previous, but the ritual was performed. From the traditional march past that saw the participation of primary schools, secondary schools, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CBDM political party, and other associations, to the satisfaction of Mr. Abiola Timothy, the divisional officer for Kondo Titi subdivision.
I would like first of all to thank and congratulate the population of the Kondo Titi subdivision, who have come out massively to participate on this celebration, driving the message of lockdown sent out by separatists and secessionists. I would like also to seize this opportunity to call on the youth of the Kondo Titi subdivision, who are hiding themselves, who are living in the bushes, to come out, to join their population in their respective villages.
After the march passed, it was the turn of choral groups to animate, and this kit came with a message to remind the authorities that their parents are still in the bushes. And that they want peace, for the war is taking their aspirations away.
In Limbe, the National Youth Day equally unfolded amid tight security, as correspondent in the OPEC city of Limbe reports. Davidson Maimo.
Despite the lockdown called by those fighting for what they call the restoration of the British Southern Cameroon state, with gunshot, threat of life that has paralyzed the economy of the city of Limbe and other towns and cities in the southwest and northwest regions, all in a bid to mark the National Youth Day in the 2 English-speaking regions. Some persons braved the odds to answer present at the ceremonial ground at Manga Williams Avenue in Limbe. Under tight security, the march past kicked off with the scout that was immediately followed by the National Youth Council, then the primary schools. Here, 90% of the lead private schools boycotted, while the government schools that took part were mostly shadow of themselves. In the secondary school sector, the conspicuous absence of major schools like Seka Baptist College, PGSS and St. Anne were very visible. Nonetheless, state-owned secondary schools answered present, though in a non-encouraging number, except for government bilingual high school Limbe that stole the show. Some youth groups equally answered present. The lone political party Youth Wing was a ruling CPDM party. Here, the wise CPDM answered present with a huge number, showcasing their strength of the party in Limbe.
Coming up, for me, Armstrong Sander makes a roundup of the National Youth Day celebration in parts of the Northwest region, a celebration as never before. As a result of the Anglophone crisis, things were quite different from the previous years when things were quite normal in those parts of the country. For me, Armstrong Sander.
The 53rd edition of the National Youth Day celebration in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon was a veritable lab test of practical patriotism in the face of intimidation and a battle to demonstrate influence over space and a local population caught in a socio-political impasse. The threats and boycott calls from separatists apparently got a part of some towns and cities in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, but not all. A bunch of individuals turned out in Santa Mezam division of the northwest region of the country to show love for nation. Political party supporters graced the event at the Santa ceremonial ground. Not far from Santa was Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region of the county, where Governor Adovlele Lafri watched few courageous GBHS Mendankwe students, Senajes and University of Bamenda students march past amidst tight security. The stories of Kumbu in the Bui division, Mbengwe in Momo division, Fontem in Lebialem, Kumba in the Meme division, Manfe in Manu and other towns of these regions left nothing to be desired as commemorative activities were grounded. If Youth Day celebration failed in other parts of the northwest and southwest regions, Kambe, chief town of the Donga Mountain division, went on record for its massive mobilization and huge turnout, qualified by observers as the largest in these regions of the country since the start of the Anglophone crisis. Thanks to Ngala Gerard, an illustrious son and youth of Donga Mountain, pupils, students, youth groups and elites of the division turned out massively at the Nkambe ceremonial ground to celebrate Youth Day 2019. Through choreographic displays, march pasts and chants, youth displayed messages of unity and a call for dialogue to end the crisis hitting the two English-speaking regions of the country. With the presence of defense and security forces, the exercise unfolded hit-free in Kambe, Donga Mountain Division. The same story is told of Boya, chief town of the southwest region of Cameroon, where Me Ekemapatege Sunge, like Ngala Gerard in Kambe, succeeded in pulling a mammoth crowd at Bongo Square, the Boya ceremonial ground.
The government of the Republic of Cameroon undertakes a merciless war against kidnappers in the northern regions of the country. Speaking recently during a working visit to the Adamawa region, the Minister of Territorial Administration at Tanganji Paul promised very difficult times for hostage takers.
Elites and local inhabitants in Gaoundéré each have a bitter testimony to tell, as they have either been direct or indirect victims of hostage taking and ransom payment, a phenomenon which is alarming in the Adamawa region. I was kidnapped and kept in the house here for close to 2 months. I have tabled a complaint for the arrest of the abductors. I know very well, but nothing has been done. I am a notable from Kuturu village. We no longer want to experience this phenomenon of hostage taking and ransom asking. It has caused us to suffer. Our wish is that security forces collaborate with us. The kidnappers burst into my home at night. took valuable items and carried me in a bush where they beat me up for 6 days mercilessly. I was compelled to pay the sum of 2 million francs CFA before I was set free. Today, I am suffering a lot. I cannot take care of my children. This population, making up victims and other local authorities who seem surmounted by this phenomenon, sees the visits of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, as opportunity to seek fruitful help from government. Our people have abandoned their trades, farming, and cattle rearing activities. As a result of the hostage taking still in the Adamawa, close to 70 people have been killed. In the Juhum subdivision, within the same period of time, close to 35 persons were held hostage. 25 were freed upon ransom paid, worth 35,700,000 francs CFA. 8 persons were freed by defense and security forces. Close to 400 cattle were stolen, but in all, 23 people have been killed. In response to show government's readiness to support, Minister Paul Atanganji, while in the Adamawa region, assisted the suffering victims with these humanitarian gestures. Local vigilante group members were handed motorbikes and other equipment to enable them better carry out their duties.
Je suis venu essuyer vos larmes parce que ceux qui ont perdu de l'argent.
He also called on traditional authorities to get up from slumber and play active roles to bring hostage takers to their knees.
Les imams qui sont ici, les jaouros, les chefs traditionnels, chacun d'eux.
The Minag boss emphasized needs for the population to collaborate with traditional, security and local administrative authorities, plus auto-defense groups, such that the phenomenon of hostage taking, which has become a source of livelihood to its practitioners, is completely flushed out of the region.
And Cameroon continues reinforcing her military strength to tackle the security challenges in the northern regions in the east, with the Boko Haram militants and rebels from the Central African Republic respectively, and the situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Some 2,200 student soldiers have started a 12-month training journey in the Rapid Intervention Battalion Training Center in Manawobe, Limbe, southwest region of the country. David Sunmaimo has more.
Parle avec Dieu. Et quand je parle, Dieu m'écoute parce que Satan c'est moi. Je répète, vous ne remettez votre argent à personne, à aucun militaire. On n'en a pas besoin. Vous m'avez bien compris? À la langue, vous allez reçu. Dès que vous allez entrer là-bas, c'est reçu.
They are 2,200 in numbers, newly recruited to enforce the elite unit of the Cameroon Army, the Rapid Intervention Battalion, with the French acronym, the B. Received at Angela Kwan quarters, about 500 meters to the B base. They all have to assemble here, go through some checks, as explained by the commander of the B training center.
The military security, who identify them through their ID. After that, they pass to the tent of the biometry. In the biometry, we have our computer who give us the true identification of the candidate.
The young commandos are to undergo a 1-year training in different domains before their graduation.
They will be trained on the ground, in the air, in the sea, and those young recruits will be able at the end of the training to intervene in all the different areas and the operational zones in which we are engaged in our country, Cameroon.
Under the watchful eyes of Colonel Belinga Hari, commander of the B at Manawa Bay, these young Cameroonians will go through different challenges as to those to be trained in Marwa in the northern part of the country.
And they will be specialized in the maritime area, the maritime field. Meanwhile, those trained in Marwa, they will be specialized in the Sahelian battle.
Everything being equal, it is expected that in December 2019, the Cameroon Elite Force, the B, shall officially graduate about 4,500 commandos from their B training center in Limbe and Maroa.
And that's it for this edition of the news. Thanks, dear televiewers, for staying with us. Goodbye.